In this lesson, we will use connectors to connect a first fact and a second fact. But the second fact is surprising or unexpected. But what does this mean?
Here is a big bowl of spaghetti. I've just had a big bowl of spaghetti.
I have just had a bowl of spaghetti. This is true, right? This is a fact.
I am still hungry.
What? I'm still hungry? That's strange. That's surprising. Right? So I am still hungry. This is the second fact. It's true. It's real. But it's not expected. It is unexpected. It is surprising. So that's why we say a surprising fact. Usually, if you eat a bowl of spaghetti, you are not hungry. But I'm hungry. Surprising fact. Which connectors connect a first fact to a surprising fact? I'm going to now just quickly show you some of these connectors, and these are the ones we will look at in this lesson. Don't forget the different colors are related to different structures. Do you remember these structures? So how do we connect these two sentences using even though and although? Okay, let's check. So there are two possible structures. Let's check this structure first. In the middle, you should have the conjunction or the connector. Now, the first clause should be the surprising fact. This clause is the independent clause. The other clause is the dependent clause, and this should be the first fact. So although is connected to the first fact, or even though is connected to the first fact. And this is the dependent clause. So I am hungry, even though, or although I have just eaten a bowl of spaghetti. So this is your full complex sentence. Sometimes with although and even though, you will see some people put a comma before them. This is optional. You don't need to do it, but it's okay if you do. Here is the second structure. So of course, first we have although, even though, and then we need to connect although, even though to the first fact, which is the dependent clause, and then comma, and then the surprising fact, which is the independent clause. I am hungry. Now, usually we can just put even though or although, and it doesn't really matter. So this means they can be used interchangeably. But just remember, even though is actually a little stronger. We say a little more emphatic. This just means that when we say even though, it has a stronger feeling. So maybe you should use even though if you think the fact is very surprising. It just helps emphasize the first fact, surprising fact connection. And finally, although is actually a little more formal. So just maybe although is better for your essay writing and things like that. So how do we connect a first fact to a surprising fact using nevertheless and however? Let's check. First, just check your structure. Do you have two sentences? So sentence 1, stop or full stop, then connector, then comma, then sentence 2. The first fact is sentence 1. Then we have however, nevertheless, and then sentence 2 is the surprising fact. So you should have, I have just eaten a bowl of spaghetti. However, or nevertheless, I am still hungry. So let's look at it more closely. I have just eaten a bowl of spaghetti. Full stop, so you can see the full stop or the period. Then we have the connectors or the connector, however, nevertheless. And we must put this connector between the two sentences. So if you want to use however or nevertheless, you need an idea before the connector and after the connector. So it's always in the middle. And then you can see another comma and then the second sentence. Here are the notes for however and nevertheless. So both have the same structure. They have the sentence connector structure. They must be put between two ideas. They both introduce the surprising fact. So the first sentence is the first fact, and the second sentence is the surprising fact. Nevertheless is considered a little more formal. How do we connect a first fact and a surprising fact with in spite of and despite? Let's check. First, make sure you have the right structure. Remember, there are two options. So let's look at the first one now. So we have the connector, then a noun or verb ing, comma, and then the clause, the independent clause, subject, predicate. So